In this video, I'll be discussing strategies to use in Scratch Getting Over It. This will be applicable to any skill level, but will be the most effective for players with a PB around a minute. So, at the beginning, there is the vertical green flag block. You don't really have to pull on it, although you can. This doesn't really make a big difference unless you're at a very high level. For the if-else, you can do the strat where you get on top and then do another pull, but that is more like a beginner strat, so I would recommend just doing the pull from the left. There are a lot of strats over here. You can do or skip, but it saves less time than it looks like. So it's completely fine to just use the broom or the blue block here. For trackpad or mouse, it seems like an effective strat can be to have your hammer in this gap and then to do a bit of a circular motion. So you do like a partial circle here and then circle off of there. This will get you or skip. Sometimes. And another strat is just to do a small pull kind of into this green block, and you'll have some slow speed, and you can do the pull from there. This one is also applicable to PC or mobile. And then there's also the strat where you try to... This one is a little harder because you need a lot more height from the if-else so that you don't bonk on the green block. So to throw yourself directly this way, to bonk on this yellow block, and then you can pull from here. And then there's one more strat, which is just to dump straight over the yellow block and ignore it. Or not exactly to ignore it. You can still do a pull on it, although it won't really work significantly if you've already gone over it. You can kind of choose whichever one you like the best, but I would just recommend not worrying about or skip if that is a struggle, because it really doesn't save that much time. So, here, there's a question on whether you use the banana or not, because you can go from the taco to the banana to the apple, or you can just go straight from the taco to the orange. So it depends on how uncomfortable it is to do quick movements. So if you are good at doing quick movements, then the banana may be more consistent. But if not, the taco is probably going to feel better. From here, this bread pull is a little bit interesting. If you have the momentum this way, you can pretty easily grab onto right about there, on the side of the bread, and grip there pretty easily, and that saves like just a slight amount of time, just knowing you can pull on it slightly earlier. Then we're over here. Similarly, if you like big, long pulls, then you can do the strat from the orange. It's a very common strat, even though it might look a little weird, that you go from the bread, the orange, swing around the girder. And to do this quickly, you do want to spend as little frames as possible on this bread here, because you don't really need that much distance to do the next pull. Then you can also go to the left. So some people like to use this melon, and then the berry, and then the girder. Both of them are fine. Like, the amount of time difference here is very small. I still prefer the orange, but it's really just your preference. Then there's this chimney. The very popular strat is to bonk into the first lantern, pull on the first lantern, then do a small pull on the rim of the melon, and then pull there. So this is definitely what you want to use if you're around the 1 minute mark. or even around the 50-second mark. And again, there's just a small time difference here, although it's a little bigger, that you can do the lantern skip. You can be in this position here, where your hammer is a little higher than your player, and then make your way to the second lantern, and then do this pull without bonking straight into here. So I would generally not recommend this, even though I do use it, because at my level, 42 seconds, it's actually kind of easy-ish. It still gets me bonking up in here once in a while, so it's still slightly harder. So anyway, next is construction. Very, very popular is to do this route, where first of all you pull on here as soon as possible, and then you pull on this guy, and then you pull on this guy. Be aware that the pull from this one to this one is actually pretty short. Like, you can do them in quick succession without, like, leaving any airtime where you're not doing anything. Like, Max Scratchy, the former world record holder, does use a different strat here. He is on an iPad, so it is more applicable to iPads. To big screens, big touch screens. Like, it of course could be a laptop touchscreen, just big touch screens. Which is to do this very big pull from here all the way up to this truck, the top of the truck, and to grab here, to grab here. Yeah, you can do that if you want. I don't really see very much value in it, honestly. So here a lot of people like to do this little pull on here before grabbing the rail, rather than doing this pull and then grabbing the rail. This I would generally not recommend. It's not very necessary at all. So the rail is a pretty big struggle point for a lot of people. My strat is to do 2 pulls on it, and I think once you're at about sub 50, this is very viable and you should try to do the 2 pulls. If it is too hard, you can always do 3 pulls. It is a bit slower, but you can still be quite consistent. And you can also do 4 pulls like Trinera, I guess. Doesn't seem great, but if you like it, it's still not gonna... It's not really gonna lose much time. So honestly, consistency is gonna be the main thing here. Some people use tub jump, which is to do this, and then jump over here and slide skip. Some people do not use tub jump, which means that you are gonna stick your hammer through here, through this slippery wall, because as long as your hammer's direction of momentum isn't too far into it, like directly into it, you are going to just slip right off of it. And then you can go over here and do a pull here. So, yeah, this one is just, again, just preference. And again, I would prefer the tub jump. But you can go around here too. There's a little bit of a difference in strat here where Max Scratchy bonks before doing the pull. And Trinera does something a little faster, which is to just do a little pull and immediately pull. So yeah, again, just whatever is consistent for you. For slide skip, remember that the slide skip is actually it doesn't look like that big of a jump, but if your hammer is like more like this, it's gonna be a little more difficult to get enough distance up there. So just an advantage of tub jump is that when you do this, you'll see that I stretch a little bit. My arms stretch a little, so my player is a little bit lower, and that means that doing the slide skip becomes a lot easier. So, just saying, slide skip with a fully extended hammer is a lot easier. So here you want to pull on this first book, or just any of them really. And then, yeah, everybody does this route for furniture, to go from the books to the table, and then pots, and then shelf, snake, rooster, fox. There is some variations, although it's usually from less experienced players, because this does end up being the best route for really any level. So, for the first of all, for this jump from the table, you can do it from a little lower from this book. Try not to, but it's totally fine too, or even just a lot lower. It's actually fine. For this part, you also have a lot of leeway for where you can pull. You can pull on this little table ledge that is right there, or you can pull on the pots, or you can even go higher. I would say the goal is right here on the pot, on the lower pot here. Then you can also, when you do this next pull, the goal should be this guy right here, but you can also pull on the fridge. This one is just a little faster because your hammer grips it more quickly than sliding into this position. And then you can do the snake, which I would say maybe around here is the goal. You can definitely pull from here or here as well, or from here or from here. Rooster, sliding into this position here, or a little lower is fine. Like, over here is fine. Alright, next is fox jump. So fox jump is a time save that everybody, no matter the skill level, should go for, because even though it is still very difficult, even at my level, to get this consistently, it is also very easy to set up. So, like, it's easy to learn and hard to actually execute. So anyway, there's this setup. Basically, you need your hammer on the side of the fox, and your cursor needs to go to the right so that you're hugging the fox. Like, your player wants to go to the left, but it can't. And then you just slowly let yourself go over the ears, and you will naturally go directly through that gap. That's what fox jump is referring to. It is to go through this gap without bonking your pot or your head. And at that point, you will generally land right about here. So, definitely try to do that, but also, if you don't make fox jump, you do need to know what to do if you don't. In that case, you are probably going to be around here, and you pretty much just do a little pull a little more to the left to get yourself over the frog, and then you do a frog pull, and then you generally have to do 2 more pulls, one on the butterfly and one on the orange table. And that is also what you do if you succeed fox jump. There's some strat variation here. The baseline is to just do the butterfly pull and then the orange table pull. Now the strat variations here, Trinera does a little thing. He pulls on the frog, and yeah, he does a few different pulls here, like a lot of lightweight and minimally lengthed pulls here. So, you know, again, if that's consistent for you, then that's fine. The strat that I'm using currently is frog impact. You have to be aware that there is this mechanic in this game called hammer impact, where if your momentum is downwards sufficiently, and it is horizontal by a little bit, and you hit a slope, for example this, then you are going to bounce off. You're not going to pull. Pulling is fast in this game. It is faster than airtime. Hammer impact is not a pull, but it is a speed boost. So it's not really like, it's not actually very fast. It's just about as fast as a pull, but it's because in this situation that you don't really have any space to do any good pulls that impacting here is fast. So the strat, if I can get it. There we go. So that was hammer impact. I landed all the way over here, and at this point you can just jump from the floor up to here. So that's a very fast strat, and it is doable for anybody because it's, again, like fox jump, isn't actually that hard to learn, but it is hard to get consistently. It is still very inconsistent at my level. So if I ever fail it, as in I do fox jump but I miss the frog, then I'll just revert to butterfly plus orange table. An even higher level strat that I might as well mention is to do that, but you probably don't need to worry about that. To just do one pull from the butterfly, like that. And an even harder strat is to do a pull from that antenna, because you reach that a little bit sooner and get all the way to the rocks. Anyways, yeah, basically fox jump and then here and here. It's fine. Alright, so orange. So you do a pull here. It's obviously much more consistent to have your hammer way up in here to swing around. And it's completely fine to have it here, but it is very slightly faster if you can get your hammer to the left, but really don't worry about that. Here you do want your hammer to be on this higher ledge and not this lower one. This lower one makes it much harder to progress. So on the higher one is better. Your next goal is this rock right here. Not this one, not this one. But those two are fine too. But this is the best one, because at that point you can do a nice swift pull to the gargoyle, aka the speaker. Yeah, this thing. From here, it is a good idea to do thumb skip for most people. Basically everyone. Even though it does seem like maybe it's a bit of a hard jump. But it ends up being more consistent and faster than trying to do very quick pulls here. This thumb, by the way. To do these two quick pulls is not as advantageous in general. In order to do thumb skip, the fast way to do it is just to do the pull up immediately, of course. But you don't really want to like do any slow ways here, because that's just going to end up being slow. So you basically, if you don't make it, you can just do a thumb pull. Or if you do end up bonking, like here, you are not going to be able to do the jump. So just wait to fall. That is a consistent way to do it, to just wait to fall before doing the thumb skip. Alright, from here, you want to do a church tip pull. This is a little bit challenging because it's a weird angle. But as long as you get over it, it is fine. The goal is to get all the way to this wheel, but that is not that consistent. You can sometimes often just land here, and it's fine. You just do a little pull here to get to the wheel. But in order to get to the wheel, the general thing you have to do, you do want your hammer to be on the tip, but then that is very risky, because if you miss really hard. But if you are on the tip, you are going to get more grip, because the angle here is going to be flat, or just more flat than this angle here. So that's how to do the pull to the wheel, although you can definitely still do the pull to the wheel from the angle. Alright. The Triceratops. This is anvil. This is the anvil split, and it is weird. So, what we could call the boomer strat, the consistent strat, is to bonk here, to do a pull here, and then pull here, and then up, and then shift yourself with the hat, and then anvil jump. So again, this hammer could be here, or it could be here. We go over here, the hammer over here, it could be up here. Then the hammer could be here or here. One more time. So here. Yeah, for anvil, if your hammer makes it over here, you do need to be a little more careful. But it is definitely possible to make the jump from here. You just need to make sure it's high enough. Alright, so there is another strat, the strat that I use. There's actually two more strats here. The strat that I use, the fastest one, which again, if you like it, then sure, but if it's inconsistent, then don't use it. That is to do a bit of a swing around here. My cursor is like in the middle of the screen, more to the right here, and then it's in the middle of the screen more to the left here-ish, kinda. It's more true for this one, because, yeah. The idea here is that you need to get around this object that's in front of you and then go to the right. And you have to do all of that in the same pool. So this one is the goal here, and it actually basically only works on this one. Like from here, you kind of have to go up, and then it's a little slower. And from here, your hammer tends to get stuck. So yeah, you can do that, and immediately do this pull on the little Brontosaurus. And then the goal here would be to get as high as possible, so up here, or here is fine. And then to get your hammer over here, onto the blue Bronto, as high as possible to avoid slipping. And then do that little swing around thing again. And then do the anvil jump. Now, the other strat that Trinera uses is similar but not the same. Those two swing arounds, he does not a swing around, but just a hop. So he just goes up and up. So that is slower, slightly, and probably more consistent. So definitely do that if you want. Again, it's just all preference. And, you know, if you have no idea what strats you want to do, yeah, I would just say the easiest one is this consistent one. Okay, from here, there are a few routes to go here. So the normal route is to just do the pull here and then do a wall jump off of the pterodactyl's wing. Be careful not to get your hammer stuck in here. It is really annoying. So just try not to. And then you go to the beach ball, and then you do a pull from here up all the way to the basketball, to the soccer ball, to the boots. And on the boots, it is advantageous to have your player as high as possible. So that you... But if you're down here, it's fine. It's just it'll take slightly longer to get over it. So... you are very likely going to bonk on this basketball. It's kind of inevitable. So yeah, just let yourself bonk on the basketball, and then pull, and then soccer ball, and then boot. Now another route is Snowman skip. This one, a lot of people have trouble learning, and it is unnecessary to learn. It saves about half of a second, so this is actually a pretty hefty time save, but still not that big. So to do this, if you want to try it, your hammer is going to be anywhere around here. It can still grab the level all the way down here. You can see that there is this pixel here. Yeah, right about there. As long as you're hitting that pixel, you are going to be able to grab that probably. And the lower, kind of the better, because it's easier if your hammer is very close to your player during the pull, as in right around here. It gives you a stronger pull. So then on the beach ball, it's interesting. So you need to grip the beach ball from this very weird angle. In order to do so, your hammer needs to hit it at an angle that, as if you were going to throw yourself down. So, like this. It's very easy to grip it if you're trying to throw yourself down. But then you need to immediately switch to swinging around once you've gripped it. So, just like that. Your cursor needs to do just a circular motion in which your hammer will hit the ball as if to throw yourself down, and then it will swing yourself around. And the even faster way to do it is to swing around so hard that you don't even bonk the baseball. That's basically just a skill level thing. If you are good enough, you are going to be able to go over the baseball without bonking. But if you do bonk on the baseball, it is still completely fine. It still saves around half a second. So, from here, of course, you do baseball, basketball, soccer ball, and hopefully try not to bonk in any of those, but totally fine if you do. And then I might as well also mention mountain skip. And basically nobody uses this right now because it's too hard, but honestly it's not super hard. It becomes more viable when you are at the point in which Snowman skip and right bucket, which I'll get to, become viable, because those are hard, and doing mountain skip skips them. So then the difficulty increases and it's big. So anyway, you probably don't really want to know about mountain skip because you're not going to do it. So maybe I'll just get to that at the end. So let's just go to bucket. There are loads of strats at the bucket, like 10 strats. The first one I ever used, and this is what I would recommend for anybody struggling with bucket who is on PC. It is bonk it. So you don't miss the bucket. First, you just bonk somewhere on the bucket. Your player can be over here, or it can be all the way down here. Anywhere on there. Just bonk the bucket and get your hammer over the left wing and let yourself fall. Let your hammer fall into the left wing. And then you'll just do the swing around motion. You want to get into this position and then do a pull pogo up to here on this t-shirt. So, again, here, bonk, let yourself fall here, do the pull pogo. And of course, if you want to do it faster, it'll look more like that. If you are on touchscreen, bell kit tends to be more consistent. So that just means that you're going to... Your angle from the boot is going to be a little bit higher. Not that high. Yeah, just basically anywhere that isn't so low, you're going to go on the underside here. All of that's fine. So you're just going to pull over to the bell. And there's, again, a few strats here. The most consistent but slower thing to do is to do a little pull on this bell and then do a little pull on this wood and pogo yourself over here. So again, you're here. Don't put your hammer in the ears in general. It gets stuck. So you go here, and then here, and then, yeah. You can also, pretty easily, but not super easily, do a pogo from this bell, like that. It's not very strong, which is why it's not super easy. If your hammer is a little bit, or if your player is a little bit lower here, then it is going to be easier, because you'll have more pull distance. And you can also just go straight to the brooms from here. Again, that's a little harder because of the bigger jump, but you can just go straight to the brooms from here. So yeah, the most consistent thing, if you are on touchscreen, is to just go here, and then here, and then here. Now, there is a few more strats to do here. The fast one, the one that I use, and pretty much all top players use, it is right bucket, because it saves about half a second. So the general idea is just that you're going to go straight from the right side of the bucket up to the t-shirt. There are a few nuances here, and they are important to understand since it gives you more leeway, considering that this is a pretty tight jump. Your hammer landing in the ears, although still not preferable, it's more fine when you're doing right bucket. It doesn't get stuck as much. And also on the t-shirt, the sleeve here, although not preferable, is still quite grabbable around here. So, yeah, you can still just do the pull like normal, just like you would usually do from here. You'd pull like that. You can still just do the pull from here. Or possibly a little lower. A little lower doesn't work as well. So, from the boots, in order to set up the right bucket, you can, of course, do it the slow way, where you wait to fall before doing it, but that kind of defeats the purpose of it saving time, so you probably don't want to do that. You want to pull as soon as possible. You don't need to be all the way down here. You don't need the full pull distance in order to make the jump, although that does make it a bit easier, maybe. Yeah, just like from around that position there, where you're up against the bucket over here, and your hammer's on the right wing, you should be able to make it from there. And yeah, when I'm doing this strat, my pull on the boots is not full strength, because I do want to have the time to bring my hammer around while in the air and not be too high, because the lower you are, the more strength you'll have for this jump. But yeah, you do want to aim for your player. Kind of just scrubbing against this, because that's a consistent way to go about it. Moving on to Ice Mountain. So, this first notch is really annoying for everybody, because it's tiny. There are a few ways to alleviate that. One of them is to not always even use the notch. You can just pull on the wall, just like I did there. It's actually kind of consistent. So just kind of do your pull as if you're going to land on the wall rather than the notch, because that'll make it much more consistent. The way to pull on this wall is to have your momentum quite a bit to the right, and you want your hammer not to be swinging already when you hit the level. You want to let it rest for a couple frames on the level before you do the pull. But yeah, when I'm doing this, I am still aiming for the notch, because, you know, it's slightly easier if it does actually land in the notch, but it won't always. So then there isn't really much strat variation at all here. You just need to do this pull on this guy, and then you need to do a pull on the green shoes, and then a pull on the jeans here, and then onto the fish. If your pull from the first notch is too far, you can use these yellow shorts here just to do a tiny pull onto the green shoes. And you can even do it from a little lower. These pink pants are pretty grippy around near the top, so you can grab that. And some people use these green shorts here. You can do that, I guess. It's not like it wastes any time, but I don't really see the point in it, because you can just do the pull from here onto the fish very consistently. So, from the fish, you can grip it from pretty low. This is probably around the lowest you can get. You can kind of do it from there. So you pull on the fish, and then you do cart jump from here. Or you can also just not worry about cart jump as much and just let yourself fall all the way over here before doing a pogo. But it is definitely faster and not really a consistency loss, I would say, to just pull on the cart. But it is a consistency loss if you try to do that while also going over the cart. So it is easier if you bonk on the cart briefly before doing that pull. So, tower. Tower is hard because you don't want your hammer getting stuck when you're doing the pulls. So, if you want to avoid that, then you'll want to choose a route where your hammer is on branches that are not very far into the tree. So this is a good first branch. Although I would say that in terms of speed, this would actually be the optimal first branch. So, you know, pick one. Or pick... yeah, just pick either. From here, I would again say that this one is the faster one. You can definitely do this one too. This one's... this one over here is going to make you get stuck, but it's still doable, and you can do it from here. But yeah, this one's the optimal one. This one is fine too. And then from here, you want to get to the star. So, to get your hammer on the left side of the star is optimal. You could also get on top, and that's fine. Although, if your hammer is leaning toward the right side, you are likely to get stuck. Or if it's all the way on the right side, you're likely to get stuck. Like that. So, honestly, if you're worried, which you probably should be, you could just reposition it back to the left side. Although that's kind of slow, so you could also just... The reason why you get stuck is because you're up against the wall here, and you're kind of gripping it, so just try to do a pull that's straight down so that you don't curve too much. And you should be able to avoid getting stuck. Some people, like Trinera, basically always, is using this little branch. I suppose that is because feels more like more consistent route. It is definitely a bit slower because you don't get in space as soon, so you lose a tiny bit of speed before you get into space, and then the entire way toward the first taco, you're slightly slower. It's not really a big deal, though, so in any case, this is fine. You can use this. From the lower branch, this starts getting pretty meh. You can still do it. You can see I still have decent speed into space. But, so yeah, if you have a good position here to do a strong pull, then that's fine. If you don't, it's probably not going to work very well. So you probably do want to go up to the star from there. And in the case you don't have enough momentum. And any lower is a pretty bad idea to launch from. So you kind of just want to go back up to the star. Now there is a backup strat for tower, the 3-pull tower rather than the 2-pull tower, which is often used when this crab pull is bad and it's too far to the left or too weak. Any case in which if it's too weak and maybe you're too low, then you're not really going to be able to do the 2-pull tower very easily. And if it's too much to the left, then this pull is going to be really weak, and you're again not going to be able to do this easily. So you basically just do 3 pulls on the tower before doing the star. And the goals for that is basically about here, and then you can kind of pull anywhere. This would be a good choice for this spot before the star, since you're unlikely to get stuck from there. Just about that. Alright, so for space, I would say that the main route for space is to go from the lettuce, then from the top of this taco, then the top of this taco, and then the top of this taco. But you can use the top of this taco here. If you are in position for it, it generally is a bit more consistent. So, but it is less consistent to actually go for it, because when you're doing this launch, as an example of it working, yeah. But if you do bonk on the lettuce, you're obviously going to need to use the lettuce. And then for the other tacos, there are a few places that you can use to save yourself. This cheese, you can definitely just do a pull from the cheese instead of the top, if that is more convenient. You can use this meat slope, but it's more inconsistent. I would rather use the cheese at the top, but this is fine too, I guess. No, I slipped. Yeah, it's kind of bad. And then from here you can use the lettuce. Lettuce is a little slippery, but not really. It's actually pretty consistent overall. As long as you remember to not slip. Like, the way to not slip, again, is to get your hammer to grip it in a direction in which you would, like, throw yourself away from it before you actually do the pull. And then you can also use this cheese over here, which obviously, if you just do a single pull from here, it's kind of awkward. So you can instead just do like a circular thing here to bonk on the wall here, and then do a pull here. So that's if your pull from the second taco is like way off. Oh, in that case, I should use the lettuce. It'd have to be even more off. But that's a fast way to do that. Back up, but you could just use the lettuce as well. And then, of course, from here, it's actually pretty common to use the cheese, because if you're going up at around here, you're going to need to use the cheese, because you can't reach the top. If you are coming up at an angle like this, then it is very slightly faster to use the top, and probably maybe more consistent, or about the same. If you are farther to the right, then yeah, I would generally say use the top. But the cheese and the top are pretty similar. And again, there's this meat here. Probably don't use that, but you could, maybe. Probably don't. And this is basically never going to happen, but if you end up going too far this way, I would say it's going to be faster to just get yourself over this way with the wall. Again, walls are slippery, but if you do the gripping strat, you are going to be able to pull on it. So it's probably easier if you bonk here to just do this. Although, there is actually a strat in which you just swing. Let's get more to the left. That's too far to the left. It's a little circumstantial. But you can get yourself farther to the right if you just do a swing, because it is going to not really affect your momentum, but it is going to affect your position. So it's basically just going to shift you to the right a little bit before you get ready to do that pull. Just like that. But yeah, there is an apple taco over here. It's pretty slow to use, honestly. But you can do with that, I guess. You're going to go down here and then pull and then pull. Alright. Well, we've made it through the entire map. I might as well go ahead and explain mountain skip. So this is basically, if you're maybe around sub 45, then you can kind of consider using this. It saves about 1 second. So, again, pretty hefty time save, but not actually super huge. Anyway, you do a pull from the dino to the pterodactyl, then to these plants, and then to the bronto. The neg pulls are a little hard to learn, so yeah, again, the same kind of gripping explanation. You are going to want your hammer to be kind of steady in the air for a bit while it is up against the level to grip it, and then you can do a pulling motion that is into the level, and like not, obviously not into the air, but into the level. And you should be able to make it up there. I've gotten this kind of consistently. And then you do this pull from here, and then you do the wall jump here. Here you need to, again, be sure that you're gripping. So there is this phenomenon in which, for 1 frame, you slide off, kind of like I was talking about with fourth taco, and that causes you to not have as strong of a wall jump because you're pulling. Yeah, it happened right there. Your pull has started after you started moving, and it's not accumulating momentum. So you want to try to avoid that. You want to try to grip immediately like you want to grip before you start pulling. So that's the tip for wall jumping here. And yeah, it's a bit of a hard jump. You generally want to go as high as possible, although it does waste a little time if you spend too much time waiting for yourself to go high enough. But generally, I would just take as much height as you can. So here, if your hammer lands on the top of the taco, it's more consistent. It can land on this meat or the cheese, although it tends to slip off sometimes, but you can do it from there. And then you want your hammer on Diogenes' hammer. You can also get straight to Diogenes' hammer if you go if you get a strong enough wall jump. It's not very common. There we go. You'll notice there's actually a few invisible stuff going on around here. I can like, yeah, I'm not really on anything because that's because I'm on invisible pixels. There's just a little bit hanging from the end of the hammer, and there's also a little bit above the handle here. You can see I'm on nothing right now. Yeah, it's basically just a bit of a triangle here. You can you can grab anywhere. You can grab on optimally on this spot here at the end of the hammer. You can grab on top. You can do it from farther. It just gets slightly harder down there. Okay, so then there's the black negative pull, in which You do negative pull, oops. You need to get up to the fish from there. So, there we go. No, not quite. It's a bit slippery, that fish. Yeah, this is just like bust and egg pull, but first of all, in the other direction, which is confusing a little, and the angle at which you go toward it is a little bit more difficult because it's not as upward. So you do want your momentum when you try to do that to be upward as much as possible. So try to get this pull nice and strong and up. Yeah, the strat here, by the way, this also applies to the bus. You don't want your hammer to be fully extended upward because when you're doing the negative pull, as in like this, because it'll give you too strong of a pull. You don't actually want a fully strengthed pull. You actually just want a little pull. So that's why I have my hammer more like close to me rather than extended up when I do this pull, because that gives me around the amount of strength I need. So yeah, you want to get to here, and then you want to do a jump up to here. So you can, if your hammer lands in the lips here, it can sometimes get stuck, but it is doable to do from here, so I would just go for it anyway. Like I succeeded there. Oh, I succeeded again. What do you know? Anyway. And then you can grip here. This is more like a backup thing. You don't really need to worry unless you end up like failing this jump and then you have to grab here. In that case, it is easier to grab from here. Over here, the farthest right you can grab is probably about here. You can see there's actually a bit of a discrepancy in slope here. It actually gets a little bit shallower right here. So yeah, just right around here is the farthest to the right you can pull. And you do want to try to pull farthest to the right, because it does mean this next pull is going to be more strong. And then we have the tower route. I would say that this branch here is the easiest, and this one right here is the fastest. I'll generally try to go for this one. And then, yeah, just like the left side, honestly. This one's the easiest. This one's the fastest. And then you pull from the star. On the right side, there's actually a few more patches of snow, so it actually makes it a little easier if you haven't got quite enough height for the star. You can kind of just pull on anywhere, and you'll probably make it. Yeah, any of these are actually fine. Oh, don't get stuck. Yeah, if you're still having trouble not getting stuck on the tree, be aware to try to get your hammer out as soon as your pull finishes. So you kind of just it is more important that your hammer doesn't get stuck than that you have a full strength pull. So just try to do these swiftly with your hammer getting out of there quickly. And yeah, from the first taco, there is a faster strat that I have adopted, but only recently, which is to do 2 pulls, one on the cheese, no, not like that, one on the cheese, and then one on the top. So that does save actually maybe like a quarter of a second, so it's actually pretty good. But again, if it's probably not going to be consistent for most people if you're not at around sub 45. So kind of just, but if you are there, of course, I would say that you should be doing this because it is actually it's a time save. Something. If the 2 pull over here isn't actually that much of a time save at all, it's like 1 frame. So this one is just a backup thing. It is more consistent if you just prioritize doing 1 pull on the top. The same is true for the second and fourth, but it's even harder to do 2 pulls on there, so you really don't need to worry about that. Alright, that's it. Good luck on your GOISE runs.